BadgerLink is Wisconsin's online library, providing Wisconsin residents with a collection of licensed, trustworthy databases and online resources from the 6 content providers listed in the slide. Today, we will be reviewing collections and search features within BadgerLink resource HeritageQuest Online from the content provider ProQuest. HeritageQuest Online is a comprehensive treasury of American genealogical sources with unique primary sources, local and family histories, and finding aids. This database provides historical sources from more than 60 countries, with coverage dating back as early as the 1700s. Today, we're going to briefly review the Census collection, the books collection, including city directories, military records, wills and probates, and Freedman's bake records. So I just wanted to do a quick note on the comparison between Ancestry Library Edition and HeritageQuest Online, since we know that Ancestry Library Edition is kind of the gold standard of library genealogy resources. There are a few differences between these two resources. The major one being that Ancestry is a library subscription, but on-site only, or for in the library use only. HeritageQuest is also a library subscription, but remote access there's capabilities there. So it's a good place for library users to start, especially if they are not able to come into the library for any reason. They can access a number of records online from home with just an internet connection. And I'm going to share this comparison chart. It goes into additional details of the difference in content. What may be found most striking is that HeritageQuest Online has a lot of the same type of content, but just fewer number of records. So, for example, HeritageQuest Online contains over 1 billion records in the Census collection, and Ancestry contains 1.5 billion. There are over 2 million military records in HeritageQuest, and Ancestry Library Edition has 180 million, so quite a difference there. HeritageQuest has over 9 million immigration records, while Ancestry has over 250 million records in the library use only product. So the remote access version is just a subset of the more robust in library use only version. But I find that this resource is still a valuable asset in a library's collection of genealogy resources, and I hope that you'll agree after looking into this resource a bit more in detail today. This is the resource link that BadgerLink provides library folks to put on their library websites. This is the direct resource link to HeritageQuest Online. And I will, at the end of the session, show you how to find that or where to find that direct resource link if you would like to add that to your library website if you haven't already. So here is HeritageQuest Online's homepage. As I said, we're going to walk through a few collections found here towards the bottom of the page, but you can access all collections within the resource from the search page. You can get to the main search page on the homepage. You can select the word search up at the top. So this page displays an overview of what types of information you can find in HeritageQuest Online. The most popular collections are presented right away. As you scroll down, you're going to find links to public records, the Freedman's Bank, which we will talk about briefly today, and Search Cemeteries, which is powered by Find a Grave. There's also a box for map and photo collections, which include the map guide to the U.S. federal census, the Library of Congress photo collection, and the U.S. indexed county land ownership maps, as well as a few more. And then finally, at the bottom of the page, you're going to find links to search for content in other geographical locations, such as South America, the UK, and a few other locations. So let's start with the Census collection. Again, this is one of the most robust, with a lot of records, almost the same number of records as Ancestry Library Edition. And this is also the most used collection in HeritageQuest Online. The census collection contains over 1 billion records, including the complete U.S. federal census from 1790 to 1950. Here's the search page where you can add your relatives' names, birth years and locations, death dates, I think all sorts of things, and additional family members, and do a search. There's also, towards the bottom of the page, the data collections listed out. So the census collection, as I said, contains the full federal census, U.S. federal census. It also contains U.S. Indian census rolls of persons who maintained a formal affiliation with a tribe under federal supervision, as well as mortality schedules, which enumerated the number of individuals who had died in the previous year. Some points to note in this collection: unfortunately, most of the 1890 federal census was badly damaged by a fire. So as you can see, it says 1890 United States Federal Census fragment. So while there is this exception, generally the records are available in the mentioned date range, including the 1950 census, which is now available. And I highly encourage you to take a look at this 1950 federal census, as it's the most recent census added and has quite a bit of information compared to the older censuses. You're able to, again, search for an individual here on the search box kind of to the left, and then to the right, you can browse the collection by state and further narrow your results of the federal census. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that search page, and what I'm going to do is go up here to the top in the top left corner and click the search button, and it gets me right back to that main search page. Let's take a look next at the books collection. Just briefly, I'm just going to click into a couple collections here and talk about them, and then navigate back to that search page. So the books collection contains over 22,000 family and local histories, compiled genealogies, documentary collections, church records, military records, some vital records, and a few city and county histories. So you can search for your ancestors in a family and local histories book collection here. Similar to the census, you can just type in the first and last name, birth year, death years, locations. You can also select up in this top tab the publications tab, and you can search by title, author, year, and subject or location here. There's also the full list of the books that are available in HeritageQuest Online. These family history books listed in alphabetical order. Also from the book collection, you can select the city directories collection up here in this tab underneath the heading. And here you can search over 1.5 million records from various U.S. city and county directories during 1821 to 1989. So the database currently contains directories for all states except Alaska. And generally, a city directory will contain an alphabetical list of citizens listing their names, of the heads of the households, their addresses, and some occupational information. Sometimes a wife's name will be listed in parentheses or italics following the husband. Other helpful information might include death dates for individuals who had been listed in the previous year's directory, names of partners and firms, and forwarding addresses or post offices for people who had moved to another town. So this can also be a great resource for researching the history of a city or a state, and provides information about how cities and businesses developed over the years. So I'm gonna do a search for Madison. So from here, Obviously, I typed it in the people search kind of area, so I get my search results of folks that were residents of Madison. But in order to access a city directory listing by year for Madison, I can select this more about this database over here to the left of my results list. And from there, I can still search for a particular person, but I can also browse the collection by selecting my state, my city, and then a year. There's quite a few years for Madison. I'm going to select 1960 because that's the most recent. And then it gives me a link to that particular city directory of Madison from 1960. So these first few pages really offer that historical information about the city and some of the businesses in the beginning of this particular directory from 1960. So that's how you can read up on the history using the city directories. I'm going to use this little back arrow up here in the top left corner. And then I'm going to hit search up here in the top left corner again and just back us out of that back onto the main search page. There's also a link to the city directories search from the main search page. So you can access it from the books collection or access it right there from the main search page. I'm going to briefly go through a few other collections, just really quick. I'm going to start with the search military records here, kind of in the middle of the page. Military records contain over 2 million records from selected state and country military records, including the U.S. Revolutionary War pension and bounty land warrant application files from 1800 to 1900. And so that's US, so that's all the states. And then as you scroll down into this collection, you can see the subset of the specific states applications and various other military records. Unfortunately, there is not a Wisconsin specific record collection within military records, but there are still the U.S. records of Confederate prisoners of war, 1861 to 1865, U.S. naval enlistment rendezvous from 1855 to 1891. So there's a couple of full U.S. records here, but unfortunately not something Wisconsin specific. It's still good to check out. I'm going to head back to the main search page and select wills and probates quickly here. Wills and Probates has more than 170 million pages from the largest collection of wills and probate records in the United States, with searchable records included from all 50 states spread over 337 years. So that'd be 1668 to 2005. And I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here and highlight that Wisconsin does have U.S. wills and probates records from 1800 to 1987 available here. Main search page again. And finally, I just want to briefly call out the Freedman's bank records. This collection contains an index and original images of the Freedman Savings and Trust Company's registers of signatures of depositors from 1865 to 1874. The Freedman Savings and Trust Company was incorporated in 1865 by an act signed by President Abraham Lincoln. The purpose of the company was to create an institution where former slaves and their dependents could deposit and save their money. Freedman's bank records, therefore, can be an excellent source for researching African American history because of the amount of personal information recorded for each individual. Freedman's bank records included personal data on over 105,000 depositor accounts with names for over 489,000 individuals. And I'm just going to do a search quickly to highlight what you can find in a record because this collection includes original images of signature cards and records. So I typed in Rebecca Johnson and selected the first record to come up. So many of these records can contain data on the name of their employer and person's age, height, parents, marital status, residences, names of family, and occupation. And as you can see with this example, there is an occupation listed, as well as a spouse, current residential address, as well as birthplace, which could all be incredibly valuable pieces of information in researching this particular person's ancestral lines. So, in briefly highlighting HeritageQuest Online today, I hope an idea for using and sharing this resource in the library may have been sparked. If so, I hope you'll consider sharing the direct resource link to this resource on your library's website if you are not currently. You can find a complete list of BadgerLink's direct resource links on the For Library staff page at badgerlink.dpi.wi.gov/library-staff. And that's under the Getting Started section is that sheet with all the direct resource links. You can also integrate HeritageQuest Online into your library management systems, your learning management systems, and/or your single sign-ons like ClassLink or Clever. In order to get that process underway, please reach out to us at badgerlink@dpi.wi.gov because you're going to need different information than the direct resource links found on the library staff page. Once you have a direct resource link on your website or BadgerLink resources integrated into your library platforms and systems, please take a look at the BadgerLink training page found at the URL on the slide for helpful info, sheets, and videos to link to about BadgerLink resources, including HeritageQuest Online. Please be sure to share this BadgerLink resource along with these materials with your library users, since we know that these resources that are shared are used. And thank you for promoting and supporting BadgerLink in your libraries and schools.